seagulls follow trawler. It's because they think sardines will be thrown into the sea. Thank you very much.
Talking nonsense. So I thought, no, enough's enough. Why should I put up with that? Talking nonsense. So I thought, no, enough's enough. Why should I put up with that? Don't back down, double down. Don't back down, double down.
Yes! Here we go! The Boise bus rolls into town. I know it's a happy bus today, ladies and gentlemen. 4 of the best. 4-0's turned into the new 1-0 for this Ange Postecoglou Celtic machine. Today, they just had no answer. It's called pace. It's called electricity. It's called a vibe. And I'll tell you what, Europa League finalists or not, they looked slower than Aaron Moy on a good day. No, I'm only kidding about Aaron Moy. But what I will say is, Celtic today, unbelievable. All we did was turn up and do what we do to every team we play. The big test is going to be the European champions, because today was not the test. They thought it would be. We thought it would be. What we always call good boxing fights is styles make fights. Well, today it was a swashbuckling Celtic, a team that never stop, a press so high you can't even put you can't put words to describe it. You've got pace in the team that Didier Gat would be proud of. You've got an electricity about this side. But the one thing Rangers have was staunchness. I think Lundstrom. And I'm sorry, that just ain't enough. Styles make fights. Phil McGinley, I come to you first. The man of the stats. You were at the game today. What a day it's been. But Celtic just had far too many questions for a ponderous Rangers side that rely on blood, thunder, guts, all too many times. Today was all about ability. And boy, we've got bags of it.
Oh mate, I've just got my breath back. I think my voice is a bit parched because that was something. That one that was an amazing. I mean, I was quite confident of a victory, but even that blew me away. That was beyond my wildest dreams. That was everything you wanted it to be and more. And I cannot wait to get talking about this. Although, as I say, my voice is suffering a wee bit, but I will pull through just for you guys.
Absolutely, Phil McGinley. It wouldn't be the same without you on. We've also got our favourite pantomime villain in there, Mark, who, everything Mark says must be negative. Bullshit. Mark Kearney, how the devil are you? You were there today. You enjoy that, big man?
Oh, I just got in the door 5 minutes ago. I thought that was superb, mate. I think ability, determination, and a game plan beat doggedness, bloodthirsty, and clueless today. Celtic went out there. After 1 minute, we lost our star man. Their game plan clicked into motion within 15 seconds, and it worked.
Correct.
For 15 seconds more. The crowd was too energetic. The players were too focused. Ange was too professional. We get the job done. It was 4-0, it could have been 7.
Yep.
And it stands to how good he's doing at Celtic. The only moments I was concerned about was an almost own goal by, I think, Callum McGregor, and a mistake by a goalkeeper. I'll take that any time against him. I thought the 3 finishes were outstanding. I must admit, we were doing the zombie. I think half the stadium missed the 4th goal, boys.
Unbelievable.
Because nobody I spoke to seen the 4th goal until the big screen showed the replay. It was fucking phenomenal. I said to you it could have been a DVD match. It wasn't quite a DVD match, but one thing is for sure. There's got to be a lot of Celtic fans watching that 4-0 over and over again.
Love it, love it. Terry Robb, the face of P.M.P. You've been watching from that Celtic man cave of yours. I can hear the ice in your vodka swilling a bit right now, Terry. Tell me how much you enjoyed that, mate.
I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it, Boise. Just such a golfing class.
Golf's a great word.
I seen a stat there at the end, which I couldn't actually believe. Rangers had 55% possession against Celtic's 45%, but they did nothing with it. It was in their own half. I felt they clearly had a game plan, which, as Mark says, you could see that in the first 15 to 30 seconds. They were just out to destruct and cling on for as long as they could, kind of thing. There was lots of shenanigans throughout that match that I don't know if the guys, Mark or Phil, at the stadium would actually have seen a couple of the things. There was an elbow from Goldson on Jota, which all 3 pundits in the studio said was a straight red. Then there was a time Maeda tried to break the 100 meters record down the left-hand side, and Goldson again, he just absolutely wiped him out. I mean, it was absolutely disgusting, and that is all they had today. All they had was to go in there and try to disrupt a team that were playing absolutely beautiful, free-flowing football. Some of the stuff today was absolutely superb. I'd like to touch just on the first 3 goals, because I think this is important. Last week we were talking about how we were 3-4-0 up, and we were still chasing to get the ball to take quick corners and things like that. And the reason that we do that is because that's what's been instilled in the players. No matter what the score is, you get the ball, you get it back into play again. Our first 3 goals came from quick set pieces today. So we had the first one where we won the throw in. Jota took a quick throw in, and the goal came from that. Rangers players were standing about, arguing about whose throw it should have been. The second one, we got a free kick. Callum McGregor took it quick, got it to Matt O'Reilly, who played it through for Jota. And the third one, again, was a quick throw in from Hatate, which made its way to Taylor, who then cut it across. I actually think the ball boys are actually in on this, because you can see the ball boys scurrying about. I wouldn't be too surprised I wouldn't be too surprised if they're in the dressing room pre-match as part of the team talk, because you can actually see it in play. And we were doing it last week, and we were watching it whilst we were 4-0 up, 5-0 up, 6-0 up, chasing the ball and doing it. It was actually what helped us get the breakthrough today. Rangers were looking for time. Every time the ball went out, they were probably trying to catch their breath and settle into the game, but they didn't have time for that. The ball was back in play. They were looking around to see what was happening, and we were putting it in the net. And just another shout out for Leila Bada. The numbers, we talked about this so many times in the bus, the numbers this guy's generating. I did ask myself today, how the hell did we get this guy and no other team has noticed this guy or been able to go in for 3.5 million and bring him in? It's a great find, and whoever's responsible for that, really tip my hat to them.
Do.
And Dudu Dahan was saying that a bit of ridicule from us at times, and going, oh, not back down that road again. Well, I'll tell you what, a clock's right twice a day. So let's be honest, he's got it absolutely spot on this time.
Mark, have you got a wee bit of static going on there, Mark?
If I have, I'm sorry, mate.
No, I was talking to the telly.
No, maybe it's my...
I got on about the other night, the astronomy lesson.
Telly.
The astronomy lesson the other night.
The Big Bang.
Amazing.
I got a bit sticky about that, so I did.
Everybody Googling. Everybody Googling like mad.
That was sharp. I actually understood that joke there, Terry. It didn't let me be that sharp.
It was a good one. Sorry, Terry, mate. Because the last time I was on with 4 people, there was issues with my headphones for some reason, And I actually thought you were picking up on that, but it was a good
No.
joke, Terry. Sorry, mate. I missed that one.
No. All good, but UFOs aside, Celtic did play from another planet today, Phil McGinley. And that was a good wee tie in there. And I'm taking that every day of the week. Because what happened was we started Leo Labada today. I decided last night during the lock-in, which was great fun. We'll do that again. Because the lock-in was after hours, wasn't it? It was a wee bit hush-hush. It was out beyond midnight, a Celtic podcast. That's not part of the rules. You're meant to talk about blow-by-blow analysis and talk about every... Man, we fuck. This is post-match perch. This is what we do. But what we seen was the benefits of starting Leo Labada ahead of Maeda. Now, I think there's a strong argument for both players, Phil. I really do. And I think, to be honest with you, Ange was leaning on the Maeda side the beginning of this season. What we've discussed many a time, not necessarily with these two players in particular, but what we've discussed many a time when it comes to Chaos and Kyogo has been, just like Kyogo take the decision at the manager's hands, well, I tell you what, 20-year-old Leo Labada has the bollocks the size of grapefruits, mate, because that's what he's done. He's went from your number one boy. Maeda is the one guy Ange had worked with before that he brought from the J League. Maeda's his favourite. Let's be honest, that's one of his favourites. And there's no reason why he wouldn't be. The same way Martin O'Neill managed to still take a 33-year-old Didier Agat to Aston Villa at one point, you know? Like, come on, you're taking the piss. Right, we've brought in Maeda because it's one of Ange's guys, and Maeda's fitted. We spoke about many a times in pre-season, the profile, Phil. He fits what we're looking for. He's an Ange player. Well, we'll get to Chaos in a minute, how that blows that myth out the water. But what actually Abada's done, he's just knocked on that door too loudly. He took the decision from Ange. It has to be me because the end product is just too good for you not to have me in these big games. Yet again, this 20-year-old laddie delivers in a way they think their prized asset, Ryan Kent, is about to leave on a free next summer. They think he delivers like that. You know, he's not even playing the same sport. Leo Labada right now has to be the most exciting under-21 player. It's certainly in Scotland, and I think in the top 10 in Europe right now, easily.
Oh, he was. I try to find the words to describe it today. He was unbelievable, and I'll say something as well. A special shout out to one Borna Barisic, who once again seemed to be the only person in the world who cannot see Leo Labada, because once again he was standing like a statue. He didn't pick up the marker, and I think I said that in the chat a week ago, and me and Ryan Taylor were having some banter about that, saying looking forward to Barisic freezing again at the back post, because twice today he didn't seem to detect Abada, despite how good he's been playing and how dangerous he is. He did it last season. He did it again today twice. He was absolutely superb. And the thing was, even if he had started Maeda, I still think we'd want a winner with that one, because both of them, again, they're competing. Competition is so good at the moment. But Abada absolutely came in and absolutely smashed it today. Incredible. I mean, we could have to have a better start. It was like the game back in February. We scored after, 4 minutes that night as well. Again, you start quick against them, and they've not got an answer at all. But, oh, man, Leo Labada, he was absolutely out of this world today, and I coasting it, and
he's a player, Phil, of the ability that I think is actually weird, because I feel like last season, seeing he was the one to be the Ange's expense, if you like, he was the one left out, Terry, right? I'm not always convinced. I was overly gutted at that. I don't remember, and I've done many of these shows. We're on show number 174, I think, tonight, guys. We're only 16 off the 200 mark. That's a lot of shows. I don't remember last season, Terry, often saying it's unfair on Abada not to be in the starting lineup. The same way I would maybe have protested about Chaos being left out the lineup, for example. I'm beginning now to think, well, that was a bit fucking of a misstep on my part, because this guy is bringing so much to the table. But the most important thing about what Abada brings to the table is his numbers, his end product. See that second goal? See when he just rifled it through the legs of John McLaughlin? Let's see that finish. All that is get it on target and connect with the ball properly. That's your job as say you're a number 9, is make sure you get a clean connection and get it on target. That's the question. It's the least you can do. I just feel for a 20-year-old, he's doing this with the maturity, Terry, as if he's been doing this for years and years and years. Remember, this is a guy only making his 3rd start of this season. This is a guy, probably, to be honest with you, in the last 4 months of last season, was in and out Celtic's front three. The Maeda arrival seemed to put him down the pecking order a wee bit. I think Abada is now turning himself into a player that we're not only standing up and taking notice, but it's one thing doing it in the league. And I don't like to be disrespectful, Terry, but a lot of the opposition in the league we'll face this year are not of a comparable standard to a Europa League finalist that Rangers side are. It's easy to come on and say that, oh, the Rangers are shite, and we can do that if you want, right? But at the end of the day, I think they've got a lot of competent players there. And by the way, for all of Barisic's failures, he put more balls in the box today than any other player probably in the park in terms of crossing. So that's a different debate. But what I will say is Abada terrorizes him. He terrorized their centre half. He has a style, a directness, and a confidence that I just think right now we just need to just watch this grow. Abada for me is going to be crucial against Real Madrid this midweek and in all our other big games this year as well, Terry Rob.
Yeah, I think because of his age, Boise probably when he's left out, you kind of think, well, he's a young lad, you need to pick your games, bring him in for certain games, take him back out again. He's learning his trade, he's doing his apprenticeship or whatever. And we also talked a wee bit the other night about what it's like for a young kid, i.e. Bernabei, coming from another country and trying to settle in. This kid done this as well, and he's just been at it from day one. And yeah, you're probably thinking, how far can this lad go? We talked about who would play the other night, and I think the only two positions that were really up for debate were at centre half, and also whether Abada or Maeda would play. And I had two sort of ideas around this. I thought if we were going to worry about them, I thought he would have played Maeda to try to put a handbrake on Tavernier on the other side.
Yep.
But Ange being Ange, he didn't care about what they were going to do. He wanted us to be on the front foot. Obviously, you've talked about it there, where Abada's previous with Barisic. I would have thought once Barisic seen that name on the team sheet, he's gone, I'm fucking in for a day of this. I really am. And again, it's Ange's philosophy. We'll do what we do. It's up to them to worry about us. I would not have been surprised if he'd gone for Maeda, because obviously Tavernier, as we're led to believe, is the greatest fullback in the history of the game. If we'd been negative and were worrying about what his influence in the game was going to be, yeah, I could see you put Maeda on him, just tell him to press the life out of him, stop him getting forward. That would have been an acceptable tactic. But the front three that he went with, I believe, is our best three. The 11 that we've went with is very, very close to what I think is our best 11. And for me, Liel Abada is in it. He's in it every day.
I totally agree with that. And I love that point, because the reason Abada or Maeda. Maeda's there to answer the questions that Rangers pose. Abada's there to ask Rangers questions they don't want posed. That's what I love. Before I come to you though, Mark Kearney, 304 people are watching live right now. This is frightening. So, whilst you're all live, please hit that like button. You don't need to subscribe. Of course, it's free though if you want to, and you get more of this shitey content. If you want to become a member, it's optional. But hit the like button, get it shared. This is all good fun for us.
And Russell, make sure they check out Hoops Raffles as well, mate.
So just getting there, Phil. You're right.
Sorry.
Hoops Raffles. Don't apologise. Hoops Raffles have a page on Twitter at Hoops Raffles. It's in the ticker below. They're raffling off some unbelievable signed shirts, guys. And sometimes the cost of it is little. It's £3 to be in the raffle. But the thing is, how they're doing it is like a football card. So you've got a 1 in 40 chance. So for £3, you could have, I think it was a Kyogo signed jersey just the other day. That is good value for money in a time where there's not much good value. Hoops Raffles have decided to team up with the Boise Bus recently. They are active on Instagram, where they've got over 2,000 followers. They're trying to build up their Twitter page now at Hoops Raffles. They are going to do another raffle tonight, guys. I'm not allowed to disclose what it is, but follow them on Twitter, and they announce it when the Boise Bus parks up tonight. And it's going to be another prize that you otherwise wouldn't be able to get your hands on, firstly. Secondly, one that's more than affordable at a £3-4 sort of price. They tend to do multiple ticket prices as well at Hoop Raffles. Search it on Twitter, search it on Instagram. And I'm delighted that they got in touch with the Boise Bus to try and work with us as well. But Mark, all that marketing nonsense is over, mate. It's time to get back to the football. And we can talk about Leo Labad all we want. Jota scores a goal. I've seen the comparisons in the comments already. They're comparing it to Ewood Park. That chip over Brad Friedel, mate. I tell you what, do you know what I loved about the goal? Was the first touch. It was actually the second occasion in the first half. Jota did a first touch mark that I think is from another world. So I don't know if you remember the one about 10 minutes before it. He pulls it down for thin air against the box. He tries to do a flick and he kind of fell on his arse after that. But the touch, everyone's raving about. See what the difference is with Jota. Again, I'll compare him to the likes of Ryan Kent, who seem to get a lot of this fanfare. Like, he's crucial in big games. For what? He's got no end product. Jota's first touch for that O'Reilly pass, he's at full stretch. He still cushions it into his pathway. And he's got the presence of mind. I know I play left wing, guys. This is my right foot outside of the boot. Perfect dink over a goalkeeper that probably felt it was the worst afternoon of his life. But Jota right now, he looks to me like a guy ready to test himself at a higher level. And I don't mean leaving Celtic with that. I mean, I think Jota is now showing SPFL. I came to Celtic to play Champions League. I think we've got a few players like that, but Jota is the epitome of it for me, Mark Kearney.
You were mentioning Abada there. I thought the best player in the park by a country mile was Jota. He was a different level for anybody on the park. I said to you on Thursday night, boys, and I meant it, I think he's the most skillful player I've ever seen in a Celtic strip. And I mean that. I think I don't just say this because it's recency bias, but I think he's got more than I've ever seen in Moravcik or anybody like that. The guy just oozes class, and we did say that he kind of molds himself on the Ronaldo, and you can see that in him. You can see how he moves, and he just looks like if I was standing in front of him. Don't get me wrong, I'm shite at football, but he's so confusing. I'm watching the guy for 100 yards away. I don't know what direction he does. There was one moment in the second half where the ball went to the Celtic's left-hand side of Joe Hart, and his body shape was like he was going to swing the ball over to Celtic's right. And I thought the Rangers defender thought that was coming as well, and he just quickly shifted the ball on his left foot and just moved away from him. It probably went under the radar, but it was just so thoughtful, skillful, and clinically pulled off. I just loved it. The guy is just, boys, if we get this season at him, I'll be delighted. That there's only a handful of players that I've seen at Celtic that I just know for a fact we just can't keep, and he's got to be one of them. Just something. I'm actually
it's not today to think about that, though. It's like
when I was watching him today, boys. No, boys. Let me finish. I'm not trying to go down that road, mate. I promise you, I'm not. I'm just trying to just kind of elaborate on how good I thought he was today. And there was one point in the first half that I thought, if that boy doesn't get man of the match, I don't know what's happening here. This is the first half of the match, boys. It was 1 or 2-0. I just thought the guy was amazing. And see his goal, it reminded me of kind of Abada's wee kind of his hat trick goal against United. It was kind of like
that was said
nonchalant.
I
think he could have just. Did they say that, boys? I thought he could have. I thought he could have smashed it. He didn't have to do that. I just thought he was kind of showing off his ability. Even with Abada, I thought he was kind of showing off his ability just to do a wee dink. And I thought, this guy's for a different planet, boys. It really did. And that pull down that you mentioned that he fell on his arse. Do you know? I didn't even mind that because the arrogance to do that in front of Rangers. And Rangers are a good team, as you said, boys. It was just beautiful. And see for once, actually, normally if we beat Dundee 5-0 today, it wouldn't have really set us up for a big match on Tuesday. But Rangers are a good team. We smashed them off the park today. And maybe a byproduct of how well we played today is going to help us on Tuesday. Just with the intensity, the 100 mile an hour, the constant keeping yourself focused on the match. I thought everybody to a man was amazing. I really did. I thought Greg Taylor had a wee bad touch or two, but I thought Greg Taylor was good. I thought Juranovic played really good. I know it was a wee mistake for Hart, but he just looked so commanding, boys. I mean, even the save, I think it was Callum McGregor. We could have done a diving header and he just got down in the last minute and saved it to his left-hand side. That was an amazing save. It's probably not been spoken about because the focus is on the 4-0. And But just all through the park, we just wanted it more. We had more ability. I don't doubt for 1 minute pre-match, Van Bronckhorst was looking at his tactics board, and he probably didn't have a lot to offer the Rangers players other than go out there, hit them, sit down when they get a free kick, take your time at throw-ins, and let's just pick them off and see Celtic. They had answers for every fucking question, including us losing their star man within 1 minute, because I must admit, Phil will tell you, see for about a minute and a half, 2 minutes after that, the energy came out the stadium for a wee bit, and the Celtic fans just picked it back up again, which is natural. But the fans just played their part in that, and the team just were relentless. I'm just so impressed with the Ange Postecoglou. I'm just so impressed with how they're starting 11. Just doesn't matter if you play Jens, it doesn't matter if you play Starfelt, it doesn't matter if you play Abada. It just doesn't fucking matter, boys. They're on the ball, and I just think 4-0 today was probably us letting them off with it, because they'll get home tonight and they won't sleep.
No, I think you're talking a lot of sense there, Matt. Let's go back to it, Phil. We'll try and do it. No, you always talk sense, mate. That's why you're part of the bus. Brilliant to have you on. Phil, let's go back to what Mark's point is. And by the way, a big thank you to David Russell, who's become a YouTube member. Hey, legend, mate. But Phil, let's go back to how the game opened, because you're right. It could have felt like the wind came out of sails a wee bit. Kyogo was the boy I backed. I'm not going to lie. I put a bet on that he would score a hat-trick today. It was a very, very conservative bet. I think it was £1.50 I put on it or something. But I felt like Kyogo, it was the first time up front, fully fit, in that position we want to see him against them, which we've not had yet. And watch how he's fouled. Watch the elbow from Lundstrom. Mark's talking a lot of sense. There's a game plan to that.
Yep.
This was no innocuous challenge. This was no accidental collision.
Is he okay?
Once you actually watch the follow through of Lundstrom's elbow, it has hit the spot, but you just see it kind of pushing through a wee bit. Lundstrom, because slow motion replays can often, in my opinion, make challenges look worse than they are, but also sometimes they actually highlight what you might not have seen in reality. So when you've seen the challenge, it looked quite innocuous. I thought, what the fuck's wrong with his shoulder? Then you look at the replay. His shoulders are his elbow, is above his shoulder level, Lundstrom, and it's went right into Kyogo's shoulder in there. And I don't know if it's dislocated. I don't know what it is, but he wasn't at it. He gave it his best to try and keep going. He couldn't. But I tell you this, Phil. Always remember Roy Keane. I love Roy Keane. Remember in the tunnel when they picked on Gary Neville, picking someone your own size. See if Lundstrom thinks he's a hard man. He thinks he's this pantomime fucking. I stared at Celtic fans before. I lost a 50-50 to Callum McGregor, but it's part of my highlight reel. All this bollocks. See when he sees chaos, just doing this on the touchline and his shoulders are rolling. I went, do you know what? Giacomakis is about to come on and just remind you who the fuck you are. And that is what we're getting at now. Whilst the wind might come out your sails for a moment, that's a natural feeling to have. However, Phil, as Mark says, when you remember the replacements and the strength and depth the Celtic side has, and the varying abilities that they have, the different skill sets they all bring, i.e., Kyogo might be a bit lightweight and he might not like that elbow to the shoulder. You need to kill Giacomakis to get him to come off the park. You know what I mean? And I just think that was I thought that was a brilliant and a brilliant example of seeing just how strong this squad is.
I wasn't surprised in one bit. Last night on the lock-in, I said the only chance they've got, their strategy will be that battle with Lundstrom in the middle. He'll be out to hurt our players, and within 20 seconds he's at it. But obviously, Mark's right. There was that sort of like feeling around the stadium. You see Kyogo down, so obviously he's not looking good, because he did go off, then came back on and tried to get back in the game, but he was done. But obviously, people were like, "Oh no, Kyogo's injured." But I was sitting with a big smirk on my face, because I'm part of the Boise bus and I know how much the Giacomakis is loved around here. They have no idea how to play against him, and it actually worked better for us when he came on, because see, when he was trotting on, I was like, this is going to end so badly for them. Yes, he didn't score at the end, but he did what he does best. He caused all sorts of chaos, all sorts of havoc in the middle, going for balls that he probably had no right to go for, just making them work. And it was like, man, you don't understand what you've done by bringing him on. And I did get a good laugh at seeing Lundstrom trotting off the park. Eventually, he gets subbed off. At the end, he was trying to give it big licks. All the Rangers players were meekly going over their fans and giving it that. He's still giving it all this, and it's like, for what? What?
He's a fake hard man.
Fake
Phil,
hard
I've
man.
realised that,
Yes.
and I'll tell you this as well. The boy Sands, I mean, there was a shoulder-to-shoulder challenge. I don't know if you remember this. Giacomax had been in the park about 10 minutes. And I mean, watch it. Giacomax's arms are down by his side. He has just shouldered the boy, but he's went that far. It was like, remember Van Dijk when he played the Cup semi-final against whatever Carnation Rangers that was? I can't remember who it was that was trying to cling on to him, and he just kind of brushed him off.
Nicky Law? Was it Nicky Law?
Nicky Law, the ball
Maybe him. And honestly, Giacomax goes shoulder to shoulder with Sands. He goes that far. The refs obviously seen it and just went, that must have been a foul. And Giacomax is looking at the linesman and going, shoulder to shoulder. You watch the replay. His hands are by his side. There's no foul at all. Terry, Giacomax is a box of tricks, mate. He might not have the finesse of many, but what he does, he causes headaches. He causes panic. He causes chaos.
I think what's a good way to look at how big an impact Giacomax has made. If we think back to roughly a year ago, when Kyogo got injured, and the real panic that we felt then, and Mark was touching on, there was a bit of nervousness in the stadium when Kyogo was down, and it sort of got a bit quiet. But you knew what was coming up. You knew what you had coming on off the bench, and whenever Kyogo got hurt last year, and we didn't actually have Giacomax to bring on, we were then, we were kind of like, what happens now? But as much as I was looking forward to watching Kyogo, as much as he's been part of the excellent form that we've been in recently, it kind of was, do you know what? This isn't really going to make a difference, I don't think, here, because we're just bringing on someone who is going to be just as effective, maybe in a slightly different way. So I had absolutely no fear whatsoever. Giacomax he's been really unlucky that just the form of Kyogo, because for many other teams across the UK and Europe, he would be a number one choice striker. And yes, he didn't score today, but he gave them such a headache. And I think what he did was he had a presence about him that they knew there was someone there who was going to stand up to the roughhouse tactics. And Mark, you'd asked a question there about how Kyogo was. So you guys in the stadium probably won't have seen this if you left the game straight away. But when the fans went over to the end to mess about with the Green Brigade. So Kyogo's got his arm in a sling inside a coat, and he's got one arm. He's going like this, and then they're taking it in turns to sort of run over to the Green Brigade. Kyogo goes over, falls on his hole. Immediately you can see the camera pans across to Joe Hart, and he's just giving him the death stare. I said, what the fuck are you doing? And then you can see McGregor and Hart, and they're going to him, calm down, wee man, calm down. The experience of them, the experience they can see, actually, you've picked up an injury today, your arm's in a sling, we're playing Real Madrid on Tuesday night, you're fucking about with the Green Brigade. You know what I mean? Just take it easy. But you can see it. You can see the enthusiasm and the excitement in those Japanese guys, particularly. And I don't know if any of you seen the clip from, I think it was from the other night. Yeah. So Jota and Hatate were subs. They were out warming up, and the fans were singing. And these guys were standing like doing something to the music. They were like trying to. I can't remember what they were doing, but they were doing something together to the beat of the tune from the fans and stuff, and they were like singing along with it, whatever. Those Japanese guys are just so enthusiastic. But as I say, Mark Kyogo, he had his arm in a sling. Obviously, he didn't need to be rushed to hospital or anything like that. But I would say he's got to be a doubt for Tuesday. Just on the face of things.
Terry, I genuinely thought it was a fan. Like, I'm at the top of the 139. So I was literally just coming at the row and was turning to go on to the landing, and I heard like everyone behind me go, "Way hey!" And I turned around, and there's this person on the ground. So I thought a steward had tackled a fan. Then I realised it was Kyogo. I was like, "Oh shit!" I'm just raging.
He just slipped. He just slipped. Do you mind the guy Stephen Morrow from over here years ago when he played in it was the old League Cup final in England, and he jumped up on top of the rest of the guys? There was a pylon. He jumped up on top, fell off, and done his arm, and was out for the whole of the next season.
Oh, jeez, oh.
Going back a long way. So I hope he's okay.
Well, absolutely. I mean, I thought it was a dislocated shoulder. And I didn't. I was like kind of looking at it, going, "Looks like it's maybe dislocated it." I wonder if Kyogo fancies that getting popped back in. In the middle of the pitch. And I think maybe he was like, "No. It'll not be dislocated." I think the reality bit him, whatever it is, because he tried to play.
Is that what happened to him in South Africa? No, South Africa. For Japan, the national team last year, did he know have an injury in his shoulder?
Well, I dare say if you've ever had your dislocated shoulder popped back in, you don't want it a second time. I think that's what he was trying to dodge. There is 484 people watching us live right now. I say watching us live, that are on the bus live with us. And this is how it feels to be Celtic right now. There's so much to be positive about. I want to talk about another player that was linked with the move away. And it's easy to go through them all by there because there were so many strong performances. But Matt O'Reilly today at times, he's playing a different sport because the one thing he doesn't have that the rest are blessed with, whether they're playing shite or not, they've got this blistering pace. Even Jota, he can go through a few gears of pace, you know what I mean? And I think Matt O'Reilly's the one who's not got that. It's all about what he can do with his feet. Now, you might not have seen this when you're watching it live in the stadium. You see that Abada goal where he struck the ball, ruthlessly through the legs of McLaughlin. Honestly, it's not just the cutback by Taylor. But see the pass to Taylor, Terry. We spoke about that. That being that ball for the cutback. See the ball before the cutback is the key ball. That was on play. But anyway, Taylor's cutback's all right. He's drilled it. But O'Reilly's actually done this mad wee flick in the middle of it all that's managed to direct that straight to Abada. And see when you watch it back on Sports Scene or whatever you have to suffer through to watch it back, maybe it'll just be 20 seconds of fucking shitey Google adverts on YouTube. I don't know. But trust me, O'Reilly does this deft touch in the middle of it. I think we've got a player there. There was at one point in the second half, the ball was kind of waist height, and he's brought it down by flicking up his boot, but it's just his touch, and then he just passes it. There was times the Rangers were trying to get their old school sort of press on us as well. Do you know what I mean? Which, by the way, we've fallen foul to before. Even at Ibrox last year, with a lot of the same players, we look panicky. See today, give me the ball inside the phone box with 3 bears running at me, and we'll pass it out of there, and we'll just take our time. I thought at times O'Reilly today, he is a complete masterclass of a footballer, because in the modern era, you have to rely on power and energy. He's quite slight built. He's not going to be a big bodybuilder anytime soon. He's not blessed with the pace modern day footballers do. Yet he seems to just have an awareness miles beyond these years. He's 21 years old. How good a player is Matt O'Reilly after only, he's been at the club 8 months, 8 and a bit months. I'm so impressed with him and his composure on big stages like this compared to what he's ever featured in before. Terry, this boy is a baller, and it's no surprise. The clubs being linked to him haven't been the usuals, Southamptons of the world, the mid-table EPL. How come with him, it's instantly been top 6 EPL clubs linked? I think he's on the radar of plenty of people. I'm beginning to see why.
Again, I go back to what I said about Abada. How do we get this guy? How do we get Matt O'Reilly from League One for £1.5 million?
Unbelievable.
And within 6 months, he's been linked with some of the biggest teams in the English Premiership. And as you say, it's not your Southampton, which is the sort of stepping stone that you normally have to go to. It's the top teams that are being linked with them. Will he actually go to one of those top teams? That remains to be seen. But he reminds me, he's got little bits of so many different players. There's the obvious comparison to Tom Rogic because they played in the sort of same position, both quite tall. I see a little tiny bit of Paddy McCourt in him as well. And I know, Mark, when you talk about Jota being the most skillful player, this will probably be laughed at, but Paddy McCourt was one of the most skillful players that I've seen at Celtic. And Scott Brown said he was the most skillful player he had seen. Now he had the lungs of a beetle, but in terms of the lungs of a beetle and the feet of a ballerina. But I see little bits of that in Matt O'Reilly as well, because he has this sort of almost not a lazy look, but almost a look as if he's just on the park messing about with his mates, and he doesn't really care. It's not really important. It's not a big important match. I'm just sort of messing about with my pals here, and if I fancy playing one with the outside of my left peg and putting Jota through, then I'll do it. His touch is superb. He kills the ball stone dead, inside of the foot, outside of the foot. But it's just that sort of language style where he looks as if he's not doing much really, but when you're watching all these goals back week after week, he's involved in most of them. Maybe not the direct assist,
Terry,
but he's involved in the part coming before that. And
he doesn't look as busy, does he, Terry?
No, he doesn't. And I made
busy.
I made a comment where he doesn't look as if he's pressing as hard as the other guys, or he's maybe not tracking back as hard, but he doesn't look as if he's doing anything hard. He doesn't. Everything looks just so easy, and I'm just looking forward to seeing so much more of this guy and this team. To be honest, boys, we're going through a wee phase now where we're thinking. I was delighted the window closed without us losing anybody, but.
Which is real.
There's going to be so many eyes on this team because of the way they're playing, because of the goals we're scoring, just because of the players that we've got, and it's going to be very hard, very, very hard to hang on. We won't hang on to all of them, but I think you need to also remember as well. We were looking at Jota there, Mark, and you said if we get 1 year out of Jota, that would be great, and I do agree with that. But if you try to put yourself in that lad's shoes as well, if you rewind his career 12 months ago,
yes,
he was at his home boyhood club that he loved. He was languishing in the reserves. He'd had a few loan moves that were very uninspiring. He hadn't churned out anything like the numbers that he's churning out with us. And if you just look at him celebrating that goal today, looking up into that stand, he's got the adulation of half of Glasgow. And the change for him in his life in the last 12 months, he must feel really, really special from where he was to where he is. And I know that'll not be enough to keep him at Celtic for the rest of his career, but I would imagine that guy looks like someone who's in a very, very good space at the moment, as do a lot of these footballers.
Sometimes a negative experience can benefit Celtic. When he's came to Celtic now, he's 23 years old, Jota. I find it almost remarkable, his first full season of being a fully blooded first team regular as the season just gone by. I actually find it baffling when you look at the ability there. It's like someone's fell asleep at the wheel when it comes to Jota. Like he's wearing an invisibility cloak or something. I don't mean when he's in the park. I mean in Benfica. He must be. How are they not paying attention to this? But their loss is our gain, very much so. O'Reilly was special today. And it's great to go around, you can go around the houses with this team, right? And everyone who's been unbelievable. But I think there's an ethic right now, Mark, right? Which means it's not just about the individuals in the park. It's not just about Celtic being able to use 5 subs still domestically and that benefiting us more than it would benefit a Motherwell, for example. Ali McCoy started almost clutching to the ball boy thing, right? As if like that's his excuse. But what I will say is, what it showed to me is we're a club in tandem. Everyone is on message. The ball boys understand the philosophy the team wants to play, right? So they know. Second the ball's out, there it is back in. There's another one back in. Celtic keep the ball in play more times, right? More minutes, should I say, during the match. I would say under most managers by it must be even about 20% more, Mark. The amount of times Rangers, who we now know are pretty well versed in Europe against good opposition, they had their backs turned whilst we'd already took the throw in. We had a free kick. They had their backs turned getting back in position. They hadn't experienced anything like this. Now, Ali McCoy is clearly trying to use it as, he wasn't saying it in a negative way. He just went, they're obviously all. I'm like, well, mate, this is what Ange does. Ange is trying to build a club, not just a first team, not just a squad. And if you're part of this, if you're the dinner lady or you're the ball boy, you have to be on message. And it's we never stop. That is the message right across the board. And I love seeing the fact that no matter where the ball went out, no matter whether it looked like it could have been a dubious decision, whether it was is it a Rangers Celtic ball, the ball boys chuck the ball straight back in, get the ball back on the park. That message has quite clearly been put to them to do that. Celtic today keep the ball in play more than any other team do, and that catches teams off guard. It was very effective. 2 set plays today, a throw-in that Andy Walker was determined, Mark, for it to have come off a Celtic player, not Ryan Kent. It came off Ryan Kent. It took 4 replays for Andy Walker to concede that, and about 5 minutes after the ball had went in the net. Oh, let's look at this other replay. It does come off Ryan Kent. I'm like, right, we've got there. But it wasn't just that. The next goal, a quick free kick. The pace Celtic are playing at, combined with, if you've got other elements like ball boys putting the ball in the park, this is what we call a relentless pace, Mark. No one can handle it. Nobody cares, mate. Nobody can handle it.
Just something, fuck that fat prick, Alan McCoy, and fuck that Andy Walker, mate. Do you know something? If I'll agree with me here, mate.
Conservative opinion from Mark here, mate. As always, ladies and gentlemen.
Fuck the two fannies, mate. Hope you two have got a carpool on the way home. The 2 pair of fannies out there.
Thank you.
But listen, John Boy, see, Phil will agree with me here. And I know not all games are shown on TV, but every home match, the Celtic ball boys are throwing the ball to the players instantly. That's not always captured on TV, and there's a lot you miss. But anyway,
that wasn't the point, though. The point is, we're talking about a team that has excelled at top European level, made the Europa League final.
Of course,
and yet they didn't see that coming, and that's what surprised me. So this isn't something you can say is universal across Europe. The amount of times there was throw-ins taken with Ryan Kent still tracking back with his back to the throw-in, and by the time he's turned around, the balls actually went beyond him. It was astonishing. Sometimes that's the benefit of watching on TV, I suppose.
No, I'm pretty convinced that the manager of Elgin would know that Celtic games plan, but it's a lot harder to utilise that it's a lot harder to challenge that, boys. So see when you've got players of Celtic's ability that are being aggressive, fast, intensive, you might have a game plan that kind of tries to get players in positions instantly. But see when Celtic are on the ball, boys, I'm pretty convinced there's probably nobody in Scottish football that could manage that intensity. I mean, even in Europe.
Agreed.
I look at the EPL, boys, and you mentioned Matt
Riley.
Matt Riley's a bit like a composer. He's not going to give you 15 kilometres a match, but you know something? See the balls at his feet, he can spray the ball as little as 15 yards. But see that 15 yards pass, it'll be pinpoint. And it'll be accurate. It'll be a pack pass, I think they call it. They'll take 1 or 2 men out of the game. He does that every single match, and it goes unnoticed, especially Matt Riley. I mean, Terry mentioned Rogic, and he was saying it could be a lazy comparison. I think that's a brilliant comparison because Tom Rogic was, in his later days at Celtic, he was a composer of the ball. He was passing. His passing was beautiful. He was doing no-look passes. He was just that kind of guy. And see if you watch Matt Riley and you just forget he's no Tom Rogic, especially with my eyes, it could be Tom Cruise for all I fucking know. But he just moves the same way as fucking as what Tom Rogic did. He just get the exact same body movement, and just pinpointed him. We got him by mistake because of that guy from Middlesbrough.
Riley O'Gree.
Yeah. And actually, I seen. This might make you laugh. I seen Middlesbrough fans slating how bad he was last week on Twitter. I thought to myself, we're playing Real Madrid on Tuesday. It might go wrong. Who knows?
Of course.
You're getting slagged by Middlesbrough fans. I hope you watch the Champions League music go off on your TV on Tuesday night and just wish you had made that decision, mate, because you've not got a fucking second chance. But boys, you're right. They would have been expecting that, boys. If I was a manager,
but dealing with it's different from expecting it.
I would know they're going to do it, boys. It's not a secret, but try to get players who are going to be able to match that intensity, boys. It's not just in matching the intensity. See if your job, especially in today's match, the Rangers would have been told close your man as quick as possible, but don't do it too close to the box. Give them space, let them go wide, right? So see if you're hitting a man straight away and you win the ball and it goes out for a shy, it's not possible for you to turn around and mark that same man running 5 yards behind you. It's just too quick. And Celtic have realised, and just realised it's just not humanly possible unless you're Dyson Maeda to challenge 2 guys at one time. Or challenge the same guy at this side and that side of the park. You just can't do it, boys. But that's what he said pre-season. I don't know if you remember. his statement was, okay, and he was asked the question, season 2, do you think teams suss you out? He says, well, after all these years, my experience is they don't suss us out. It gets harder for them because my players seem to evolve into how I want to play. They understand why I want to play that way. And I tell you something, tactically, the guy is just on a different planet to anybody else in the league. I'm pretty sure Van Bronckhorst is at a very elite level, boys. See, I know he's the Rangers manager, but I know for a fact he would have known pre-match when he was talking to his players, he is going to lose players. He's going to lose strikers. He's going to lose wingers. It's got to be part of his game plan. He's going to have to accommodate the fact that he's going to have Celtic players running all over the place. And he can't. So his game plan was to shut them down, hit them hard, put them at their stride. I mean, the first half, probably more so Phil, to be honest with you, because I think when you're in the stadium, sorry to say that, but the fans can kind of be emotional to how the players are in the park. And see when the players are going down for 20 seconds to feign an injury, the Celtic fans were complaining all the time. But that's a good tactic that Hearts use, Kilmarnock use, Dundee use. See if you get the fans frustrated, it bleeds into the park. The players start to get frustrated as well. And I thought his game plan was, if Celtic are struggling, or if it's 1-0 Celtic, sit down, lie down, take the sting out of the game. But see, eventually, boys, one thing's for sure, seeing you've got Jota, seeing you've got Abada, O'Reilly, fucking, you name them. See when they're so on their game, doesn't matter how much time you lie in your ass, how many throw-ins you take your time with, Celtic will hurt you. And the day was just a perfect storm. They tried to hit us hard, and their game plan was to knock their players off their stride. And sometimes, just sometimes, you can be your own worst enemy. They had Kyogo at the game, and I was gutted. So was everybody else in the chat. But see, Giacomakis, this game was for Giacomakis.
I agree with that.
He came on, as Phil was saying, he was flinging his shoulders. This guy didn't walk out of the park with 10 minutes to go. He had a full 90 minutes. And that guy might not have scored, right? But what a fucking shift he put in.
He gave them nightmares, mate.
Yep.
He gave them fucking nightmares, Mark.
Here's the thing as well. He was ready. He was ready to go from the first minute. You don't expect to come on after 30 seconds. He was ready to go. He was at it from the second he came on.
Well, Terry, that's the thing. We've spoken about it.
Let's talk about what Mark said there. Sorry, Mark, I'm coming in, mate.
You're all right, boys. It's your boss. You can interrupt.
It's been a good 10-minute eulogy, mate. Right, but what we've all
Where you go? I was not for a minute. You spent 20 minutes asking the same question.
It's so nippy. Phil, let's talk about how Celtic approach football matches, because what we've seen tonight, right? Let's be completely honest. Mark's right. This is exactly what you can predict when you're coming up against Celtic. Everyone could do their scouting network. You know, I dare say Carlo Ancelotti might not have been in Dingwall, but he might have had a representative, shall we say, in the box today watching the Celtic fixture against Rangers. And they might be able to go back and go, well, we know exactly how they'll play. And Ange would sit at a press conference and completely, with not even blinking his eyes, say, no, we won't change how we play. So it's all there for you, really, to combat. And I dare say at some point this season we might go, well, if it's not predictable, that's why we got beat, because they knew what was coming. But right now, it seems to be, even though you know it's coming, it doesn't matter. Real Madrid's a step up. We're playing against European champions, Phil.
Yep.
If we approach it with the same attitude, can we still have the same sort of, I'm not saying scoreline result, but can we still have the same result in terms of effectiveness against them, Jack?
Oh, that's the $6 million question, mate. This is the acid test on Tuesday. You're right what you said earlier on. Today was not the test, even though that lot thought it would be. No, obviously we've blown away now. This is given the things you've got to try and clear your head about what happened last season and previous seasons. It's gone. We can't affect it. This is a clean slate. I think we can definitely give a good account of ourselves. That's the best I can see at the moment. But Real Madrid they're a different animal, mate. I mean, they are the European champions for a reason. And even though, yeah, a few of the players are definitely in the twilight of their career, doesn't mean that they're no losing their ability. Guys like Modric and Benzema are still at the top of their game. A lot of it, again, it's going to come down to just the performances on the night, the personnel. We've got a very fluid front line that will probably keep Real Madrid guessing. Giakoumakis will show no respect because I fully expect Giakoumakis will start now because I think Hugo will be out. I think he won't risk it because, I mean, his shoulder was in a sling at the end of the game.
It was.
Giakoumakis up against David Alaba, who's isn't even 6 foot, and he's a centre-back. Yeah, I can see Giakoumakis showing no respect there and just making sure that if Real Madrid do beat us on Tuesday night, they're going to have to work hard for it. They're going to have to. I don't see it being like a PSG moment where they'll come and they'll put 5 past and stuff. I think we'll be more akin to that game we had against Bayern a few years ago where we really were pushing, we're really on the front foot. I can see something like that happening Tuesday night, but a scoreline at the moment, I wouldn't even know what the final outcome would be. But I think we can definitely give them a wee scare, a decent performance on Tuesday. We're on such a high at the moment. I can't see the players just freezing, just going out there on Tuesday and just being overwhelmed by it. I just think we've got so much momentum right now. I can see us definitely going out there, giving them a wee fright or two, without a doubt.
Terry, this is the thing. We've been conditioned to believe that, an Ange player has a certain, sort of size to them, a certain sort of technical ability to them, a certain sort of profile. It's all a load of bollocks, mate. People think they know Ange Postecoglou as if he's their best uncle pal, you know what I mean? Uncle Ange, I know him inside out. Oh, he wouldn't sign. Well, it's funny. We signed a defensive midfielder who's 6'3" or something like that, just on deadline day there. That's not an Ange player, apparently. But we did sign him. And it's quite obvious it was something that he identified the same way a lot of us on the bus had identified, and many Celtic fans had outside the bus as well. Giakoumakis, let's be completely fucking honest here then. If you want to talk about Ange types of players, I'm sorry, Giakoumakis, when you think with such a small lens of what an Ange type player is, Giakoumakis doesn't fit that mould at all. He's the opposite. But guess what? It's because it's a load of baloney. This Ange type of player thing. Ange Postecoglou's too wise to think there's only one way to skin a cat, Terry. And I think he proves it. When you bring in someone like Giakoumakis on deadline day last year, he was to be the contrast to what Kyogo was, the different weapon of choice. So maybe sometimes you don't always change a formation per se, or sometimes you don't change a philosophy, but the profile of the player can change dramatically, and that can pose a million different questions to the opposition. I think Giakoumakis today was Rangers' worst nightmare, Terry, when he comes on. Now, there was a couple of chances. There was one he flicked with his head where he should have just put his head through it, and you thought, fucking hell, it's not like him. But I honestly think over the 90 minutes, when you look at it, he can walk away with another tidy day's work done, and he can go, when I play against them for the majority of the match, they don't win.
You could see last 5 minutes, roughly, I think it was, there was an opportunity for somebody to cross the ball in, and they didn't. And you could see Giakoumakis was going absolutely mental because he wanted to get in the score sheet. He wasn't happy with putting in the shift that he'd done. He wants goals. He wants to score every single time he goes on that park.
I don't mind that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think when he's on the pitch, what he gives the fullbacks, Taylor, Juranovic, and the two wide men, he gives them the option of playing the ball in a little bit earlier. So we look back at some of Kyogo's goals recently, and we're saying, we've seen that goal before where the guys are getting to the byline, they're cutting it across, and Kyogo's putting it in the net. But when Giakoumakis is on the pitch, they don't have to get to the byline to put the ball in, because they know they've got someone in there who he'll swing his leg at absolutely every ball you put in. It doesn't have to be a perfect cross. It doesn't have to be right on the money. If you get that ball in there, you know that he's going to be going for it, and he'll be swinging for the net.
A half chance is a full chance for him, eh?
Absolutely. So he gives us an opportunity to get the ball in quicker, and as Phil says, it does look as if the wee man may be out, possibly for a few games here, but I've absolutely no problem with that big lad coming in to replace him. I think just sorry before you bring Mark in again there. The chance I don't want to bring any negativity in at all, but the chance that Giakoumakis missed, the guy at the other end for Rangers, the centre forward, had a very similar chance not long after. And you touched on it a wee bit just when we were chatting before we come on. I don't want any negatives, but if I'm looking for something that we maybe didn't do excellently, I thought there was a lot of balls that came into the box that we didn't just handle them. We didn't handle them as well as I would like to see. We got away with it today, but on another day we might not. But again, let's not dwell on anything like that at all. Let's enjoy it for what it was.
Mark, we have seen the strengthening Celtic have made over the summer, and we have glanced some questioning eyes over the summer. I think rightfully so, mate. You never take your eye off a club that have given you a lot of mistrust, over the years. And this summer was no exception for us. We were consistent, Mark, as opposed to being sycophantic, happy clapping idiots. However, what we now have is the window slammed shut. And extremely satisfied with the job we did. Hacksaw didn't even come on today. And I think we're looking at a Celtic team. There is a cohesion, a belief, a spirit about them that I love. And I just think the various options now that we've got mean that domestically, already 5 points clear, by the way, after what is that, 6 league games? 5 clear. We could pull away. Because for as amazing as we are, I just still look at their key guys, your Taverniers, your Goldsons, etc. I still don't think they like the chase, Mark. I just don't think that's them. I don't think they like the chase. And I think that, there's a huge body of evidence to support that, by the way, Col. Now, if we were, though, to be focusing on Europe, which I think me and you are very, very keen for Celtic, if they're going to grow as a club, you have to be able to do something in Europe. And for too long, it's been we'll sit this one out. We'll sit this one out. Oh, we're happy to be there. Thanks for welcoming us to the table. Do what you want now, though. Do you think the Celtic side now, with the experience of today, I felt humiliating, embarrassing. A team that's made the Europa League final only 3 months ago, bar a couple of, personnel switches. Do you think now there has to be a belief in that side that, okay, Real Madrid it's a free hit, Mark, right? And it is a free hit. But you feel as well, though, 6 games in that group. Do you think there might just be a wee sniff now in that Celtic pool of players that we might be able to get out of this? We might be able to get enough points together. That belief is going to be crucial. And I think it's the first time I think a Celtic group's going to have a manager telling them, you can do this. Whereas I think Lennon before would have went, holy fuck, we've made the Champions League. Brendan Rodgers went, just do all right in there and I'll get you that move I promised you when you signed. I think all that's went to one side now. I think Ange's sitting there going, no, I told you, keep doing what you do. The stronger the opposition, the more amazed you're about to be if you keep doing what we've told you.
Aye, and the reason why we were so enthusiastic for Celtic to make changes was because we felt like they could go to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
And the changes me and you were wanting was a strong CDM and somebody who can play and physically on the right hand side, and we've got that, so we're happy. You know what I mean? And you got to kind of applaud the board for that and applaud the club for that to a certain extent. And we'll give it out.
Folk don't want to hear that though, Mark, though, do they? They want to just make out it's all doom and gloom, big man.
Well, the thing is, boys, I was so wrong and you were so wrong that Ange Postecoglou decided to go into the market and buy these 2 players that me and you had mentioned there. Funny how that happened. Maybe he just watches the Boise bus and wanted to shut me and you up. But that's another story. I totally agree with you, boys. I think if you actually look at the group itself, I think if you shoot for the stars, you make land on the moon. I think if we speak internally that they could get to second, I don't think third place is without our reach. Is out of reach. Sorry. I think Celtic have got a very good chance to finish in second, boys. But do you know something? I think getting out of this group isn't impossible for Celtic in terms of Europa League. Which for Celtic in Europe, season 2 under Ange with a rebuild would be a fantastic achievement, I think. But do you know something? A wee point here or there for the other teams a wee point against Madrid for another team might just get us second place. I don't think it's impossible, but I don't think we would be disappointed if we finish third. But I've got a wee feeling that this club, this group of players are getting told that second place is within their grasp, and I think that's a possibility, mate.
I think so. And we've obviously had brilliant debates over the summer about who does Celtic mark their ambitions with, and have they really been positive enough? Have they backed this manager? I think now the dust is settled. What I want to see is the manager, now that the window's shut, being offered something, Phil, that I know is going to be an awkward conversation on a day, but should be a celebration. But I'm going to say it now, because I always think it's important when things are going good not to be reactionary, be proactive. When things are going good, we've got right now a manager there who's operated in the last 13, 14 months a fucking masterclass.
Yep.
One that I didn't envisage happening, for one. I'm on record saying it. I've been blown away by it, but it's not about me. It's about the unity we're getting here. Everyone's bought in. The granddads are bought in as much as the grandkids are bought in. Everyone's on board with this. The squad is bought in. The board are invested in this guy. Everyone is singing for the same hymn sheet or spreadsheet in Charlie Nicholas's case. Recycling patter. But, Phil, this man is on a rolling contract.
Yeah.
Now, the bigger your profile builds in football, it's a cutthroat world. It's dog eat dog. He didn't think twice of leaving his Asian Champions League competitors to join Celtic. Don't let him have that option when he's at Celtic. The window is shut. There's no need for Celtic, the board, to be focusing on player negotiations, contract renewals. Now it's time to secure our manager, Ange Postecoglou, the godfather and the glue of Celtic right now. It's time to sign him on a new deal, a 4-5-year deal, and give the best feel-good news to our supporters they could ever have dreamed of. It would be the biggest signing of 2022. And you know the players I'm including in that list, by the way. He would be the biggest signing of 2022. The window's now shut. No more distractions, no more bullshit. And if he ain't signing it, find out why. And then accept his demands and then make him sign it after that.
Oh, fair down, mate. The thing is, it's not just players that are assets to football club. The manager's an asset as well. It's the due diligence of the club to protect your assets, and that's why we get players on long contracts. We're talking about Matt O'Reilly on a 5-year deal. How much does that make him worth and so forth? And the manager, at the moment, you know, look what we did to Brendan Rodgers. We get 9 million compensation because people are watching what's going on. Celtic are a huge name in world football. Yeah, the Scottish Premier League, it may not be the strongest league in the world, but Celtic's a big name. And what happened to us a couple of years ago, the capitulation we had was worldwide news. We're a laughingstock because of it. People saw what happened with Celtic, and they'll have seen this guy come in, not heard of him, and they will know now around the world. And, you know, that game today is a game that's shown all around the world. People will have seen what this guy has done, the transformation he's done, and they know that he's on the radar of the City group, Manchester City. They're like... the City Group's portfolio, essentially. That's the way they treat it now. They've got a portfolio of clubs. If they know that this guy's associated with that, that'll again make other clubs think he must have something, by the way. I think it's a massive duty of the club to get him tied down to a long-term deal.
100%
again, protect
agree.
the assets, got to, because, other clubs will be paying attention to what he's achieved, and see if we go into a Champions League group and he gets some storming results, which isn't outside realms of possibility. That just accelerates it.
Even this week, Phil. If he gets one result this week, his stock goes through the roof. I think football, Phil, is such an ever-evolving sport. Sometimes having a couple of secured assets in it can be a very good thing. Now, whatever Ange Postecoglou is getting paid a week, I don't think he's going to be asking for much more to be secured in a long-term deal. And whatever the excess is in terms of greater salary per week or per year, per annum, whatever you want to call it, whatever that is, would be worth the hit. 100% worth that. Brendan Rodgers is still, and I've said this in the channel many a times, in the top 10 managerial transfer fees of all time. Terry Robb, I come to you. The next biggest signing this year that Celtic can make has to be announce Ange.
Well, see, I'm probably just repeating what I said. I think it was last week and numerous times on the bus. he's the most important person at the club. You touched on it earlier. You touched on it earlier there. If I use a little bit of business speak, the whole club is joined up, and it's boardroom to the managerial team, to the coaching staff, to the youth team, under 18s, whatever they are, to the tea lady, to the people that wash the kit, to the ball boys. The whole club is joined up, and it's joined up by one person. I've never remembered a time where there's never been some part of Celtic Football Club that's been in some sort of turmoil. And there's arguments between this area and this area. Now, this is how it looks to the outside, the optics, as you like to say. But it's looking good from where I'm sitting, and it's been looking good since this guy has come in. He's got a bit of charisma. Whatever it takes. If he has to be made the highest paid manager in the history of Celtic Football Club, then let's do it. Who cares? Yeah. If he has to be the highest paid employee at Celtic Football Club, who cares? He is the most important employee at that football club. There's absolutely no doubt about that. And if given him, and do you know what? I don't even think money would make Ange tick. I think it's just a challenge. But if it is to do with money, let's give him whatever he needs. And if that means we don't sign player A, B, and C, I don't care, because as long as he's there, we will get players who can replace other players that go. He's the one, and we need to do it. And worst case scenario, we need to make sure that if he is tempted into something else, that we are compensated adequately, that we can then go back into the market for another elite manager.
Absolutely. But the thing is, I mean, Mark, it's brilliant. It's fanciful to think that, but as I've just touched on there, £9 million for Brendan Rodgers doesn't necessarily mean Celtic will reinvest that in their next manager, does it? It was a free agent, free Lenny, that they went for on, I mean, a quarter of the wages that Brendan Rodgers would have been, despite coining. I wonder where that £9 million if I went. But, Mark, it's all about celebrating your success at times, but also it's about building on it. And me and you especially have had brilliant debates about Celtic being reactive, not proactive. See, to be honest with you, see now the window's shut, it's a dereliction of duty if Ange Postecoglou is not secured on a long-term deal within the next 2 weeks.
I think he was speaking about a contract extension in the summertime there, and it kind of went a bit quiet. So I think if you're looking serious, knew that the window was closed for the players, I think Ange was kind of the guy that would probably say, look, can we get into that another time? I've got a scouting network I need to oversee. I've got games to show up that are on my calendar I need to think about. I think Ange is probably the kind of guy that just thinks that's nonsense, boys.
I don't believe that. I disagree.
No, that's what the line now. I think. I don't think Ange thinks on a Monday morning that his contract's important to him, mate, to be honest with you. I don't think he thinks that's important to him. I think he thinks he's got a job at Celtic, and I think he'll have demands like any other person in employment. But I don't think when pre-season was on the cards there that his contract situation was anywhere on his mind. I think his full philosophy during pre-season there was finding players to fit in the jigsaw. Securing Carter, Vickers and Jota, and I don't think it'd be hard to deal with. I think he'll have demands of the board in terms of investment and security. With he's convinced they're going to be going the same direction, but I don't think the guy is of the mindset that he's going to be demanding 50 grand and 40 grand a week like Rodgers go. I think he'd be daft and realise how much he's worth at the club, but I don't think he ticks that way. I think he probably leaves that to agents and leaves that to his lawyers or whatever it is that does these things. I don't think he thinks about his contract every day, boys.
I disagree. I disagree.
That's fine, mate. I don't think that he's. I look at the guy and I've never once got the impression that he thinks that a new Ferrari or a 4-year contract is what he's in football for. I think he loves the game and
new jumper.
Aye, you're right, Terry. He needs a jumper. I think he's in the game and I think he's happy to be at the level that the Celtic are, and I think he probably sees Celtic as a project. But if an opportunity comes up that's better for him and
Yep.
ticks all the boxes, he'll go in a minute.
So let's have him protected.
He walked away from Australia. So I'm of the mindset where you kind of get this guy tied down as much as possible, so that if the worst comes to the worst, that a Leicester City come in, they'll go to pay a lot of money for him, but also give the guy answers to his questions. But I don't think he's going to wake up tomorrow morning and think he's contracted Celtic boys. I think that's foolish. I think the guy's absolutely focused on Celtic's next match on Tuesday. I don't think he's got any concerns about his contract at Celtic. I think in his mind, he's the kind of guy that just goes into work on a Monday morning and just does his job, mate. That's my opinion.
love that, Mark, because
I think that's all right, but the club need to be thinking about it.
Yeah,
even if
they should be.
You just nailed it. This is it. Let's be clear here.
To do that.
Let's be clear here. This isn't about Ange being a poster boy to try and get a different job. Ange's focus on Celtic, but what you don't know tomorrow is what you don't know though tomorrow is an opportunity that could be offered to you. So whether that be, a Leicester City and Brendan Rodgers case, you don't know tomorrow you wake up to that job offer, and before you know it, you're in that rolling term going.
No, that's what I'm saying.
So whilst he's not focused on anything else but Celtic, no one thinks that. But don't give him the freedom to be able to have the opportunity that if one of these vultures that are out there that are coin daft, mate, they are cash rich. This is the point. No one is saying that Ange is fucking thinking anything about other than Celtic. Ange is
that's what 100%, I was saying, Boise.
Yeah,
that's what
right,
saying,
okay.
Mate. That's what I was saying.
Ange is completely focused on Celtic, but that doesn't change the fact that, see, outside Celtic, the world is revolving. It is always spinning. And that means someone is going to roll the dice at Ange at some point, whether we like that or not. I want that asset secured. And that is not Ange's responsibility to go to Celtic and say, well, I want my contract secured in case someone offers me. No, of course it's not. He's got a team to focus on. It's on Celtic. They're obligated to go, we know the world works this quick. We've seen this before, and we need you secured. Oh, no, I'm staying anyway. Well, I know you say that, but you left Yokohama pretty quick. So, we know how we got you. We don't want you leaving us the same way you left Yokohama, right? It's that simple. And that's where the conversation goes. And I completely agree. He's a football guy, Mark. He's a football guy. He's just going. But one thing I will say is, in 2022, they're all acutely aware of their worth. They're all acutely aware of what being a free transfer is and what being a transfer fee is. I.e., I don't know. Look at Jota joining Celtic on a 4-year deal. He knows that means his price. If anyone he wants to go and fulfill his dreams in the EPL or the Champions League finals and stuff, someone's going to have to pay now 25 million for me. Whereas if I'd stayed at Benfica, I could have maybe got out the back door a wee bit easier. Everyone's acutely aware of their contract situation. I don't think Ange is obsessed. I agree with that, Mark. I think he's proven time and time again he loves the football side. I think we've seen the proof of that being the fact we've had no Champions League qualifiers this summer. And the summer we've had, Ange's work in the training ground has been phenomenal. But Celtic is a business. Now it's business time. I've got the best. Look at my pub. I've got the best bar supervisor I've ever had in my life, right? But I know she wants to go on and she wants to go to college, Mark, right? But I need her full time because she's been the best breath of fresh air in the pub. Why am I not offering the full-time hours? Because I'm hedging my bets? No. You give her the full-time hours and you go, I want you to be part of this business going forward. Do you know what I mean? That is the obligation isn't on Ange here to ask Celtic for a long-term deal. I want him focused the way you've described. It's the club. Yeah. And that is where now the window's shut. We can all just let the dust settle and go, good window. Everyone happy with the window? Fans are happy with the window. I'm happy with the window. 5 points clear. Just smash Real Madrid 5-0. That's a joke. But now we can go, right, Ange, it's time to secure you.
Yeah.
Here's the money we think you're worth. Aye. But I don't, whilst it's not Ange's concern, Mark, it's our concern. And I agree with you, it's not Ange's concern. But that's the point I'm making is over to Celtic now. The transfer window was very important, but now the window's shut. There's one more deal to get done. Phil McGinley, though, I want to come at you on this. And we're going to talk about the benefits of Ange and where Ange's strengths come in. We were told the training ground, he improves players. He doesn't sign players either, he signs people. He signs them as the person they are. How much are we now realising the benefits of just qualifying for the Champions League group stage? See, no qualifiers, no fuss, no dramas, no hedging your bets on transfer deals. Like Rangers maybe have had to this year, although there might be more to that now.
Yeah.
Just look at the sea of cam we've had. Look at the time in the training ground Andrew's had with these players. This is why you're seeing such a well-drilled Celtic team. This is why the board seriously now need to go, oh, wow, qualifying for the Champions League really is essential for Celtic to progress. I think the penny must have finally dropped now. Surely, Phil.
It's got to have, man. Like, I mean, he said as well, like, he is a training ground manager. I mean, you see the way he deals with the media and stuff like that. He clearly can't be bothered with all that stuff. He just wants to be out in the training ground, and we're seeing the sort of like the reward from that. Well, they're having a whole summer of no distractions, no traveling to Moldova for a second round Champions League qualifier, nothing like that at all. And yeah, look at what's on the line this season. Same again. The winner of the league goes straight into the Champions League. And also, I could be wrong, right? I know the Champions League format is changing in the next couple of years. I don't know if it's next season they're going to the new format where you will be playing 10 games guaranteed in the Champions League. The new format is a 36 team structure where it's no longer 6 group games. You will play 10 random fixtures from the 36, and then the points get collated, and the top 16 out of that go through to the next round. So I think that's either coming in next season or the season after. But Scotland's at a point right now with the coefficient where this season, maybe the season after, where the winner goes in automatically. And it's like, we've got to just keep on making sure we get that spot. Look at the benefit of having 7, 8, 9 weeks there of not having to worry about travelling all over Europe. It's like your Ange 2.0 is kicking in now with this team. It's unbelievable. Like, you know, we were told the second phase of Ange is always better than the first one, and it's definitely happening. You can see the players that have come back refreshed, they're improving. Some of them are just, I mean, the day I went on, you talked about Matt O'Reilly. I've been on this show a few times this season and said I felt that O'Reilly's start to the season has been a bit safe. Like he's played in. But today, unbelievable. You said it on one of the shows through the week, talk about the through balls in between the fullbacks and the centre backs against Dundee United, how it was just cutting them out. And of course, that goal the day that Jota scored, it's that ball from O'Reilly just in that channel, and he runs on there. And that, I was really quickly say this on Jota's goal. I know Conor McCann had said that the Waynes have now got the Henrik Larsson in terms of Kyogo. I think Jota, that goal the day is like Larsson in the 6-2 game, because these games we have against Rangers, these big wins, there's always like one goal that you always remember, one that stands the test of time. That one will be looked at for years to come. We'll look back on that chip. That through ball was absolutely inch perfect, and yet it just dinked it over the goalkeeper from that angle. I think that was his Larsson moment. I generally think that Jota's they're going to be the Wayne's Larsson. There you go. That's my.
I want to see this again. I've not seen it again.
Oh, mate, it's superb.
One thing I'm going to say about this team, Terry, right? And we're going to round it up soon, guys, but it's been an hour and 23 minutes. But Terry, we're talking about icons in the team. You talk about an iconic manager. I think we're spoiled for choice right now, Terry. And I think I love the Martin O'Neill Claxon. I love that team. I still, even right now, it would hurt me to say they'd get beat off this team. Not hurt me in a bad way, but just I'm so biased to it because there were so many of them I felt identified with. And you know what? Just by being a wee bit older now, I probably don't identify with the young players just because they're all fucking on TikTok and all that shit. You know what I mean? Like, I don't get all that. Whereas Martin O'Neill's team, and I kind of understood them. I thought, like, I liked their ethics. I liked the wee bits about. Alan Thompson was the best crossover ball ever. He had that bit of dig. And just wee aspects of them all. They were more relatable for me. But right now, the kids do have heroes to look up to right now. We've got a chance here of creating the next 3, 4, 5 years of a team, because the average age of the squad, Terry, is phenomenally young when you look at it. Think about it. Joe Hart's the veteran by a country mile at 34, 35. I think he's 35 now. Callum McGregor's 29. This squad is so young over the piece is so young, and I think there is guys there that are playing with a style, a bit of pizzazz. Yeah, I think there's icons there to be had for the young Celtic fans, isn't there?
I'm probably slightly different, boys. I do still have my icons. I do still fall in love with certain players and absolutely just love watching them. I would say right at this point in time, my favourite's McGregor. I always have a soft spot for somebody who's come through the ranks or somebody who's come across from Ireland at a young age and that kind of thing. I do love my centre halves. I've said that lots of times. I'm loving Carter Vickers at the moment. Kind of go back to the last point again, though. How many of these players are here because of the manager, because of that phone call, because of the opportunity to play football the way this team's playing?
I disagree. I think they're there because the manager sold the club. This is the biggest difference.
Yeah,
I think,
absolutely.
I think a lot of the time Scott Sinclair signed for Brendan Rodgers. Don't get me wrong, he fell in love with the club. But I think a lot of other players in that era signed for Brendan Rodgers. And I think Brendan Rodgers sold Brendan Rodgers and says, I'm a hot manager. You do well under me, I can punt you on. You'll go to bigger, better things. Stepping Stone FC is what I used to call Celtic then. I think now they signed for Ange, but it's because Ange is selling Celtic, Terry.
Yeah, I take that to a certain degree. I don't think we would have got the Japanese guys if it wasn't for the manager. That's
true.
That's not a
No,
market
that.
We'd ever tapped into. There's nothing to suggest we would have gone into that market for those guys had we not brought that manager across.
I take that.
And that's another conversation completely. Is some of the the guys that we've got from how has nobody ever from the top football nations seen Kyogo or thought it would be a good idea to bring a guy like that in? I'm just amazed. I'm just amazed with the fact that we've been able to get this group of players together. There's so many of these guys who we're now looking at and going, he's a top quality football player. How have we been able to get them all at the same time on the same pitch? It's an amazing time to be a Celtic fan. And another one that I just want to give a call out today, and I called him out last week as well. I thought Hatai was absolutely superb today.
Yeah.
His passing, his range of passing, short passing, long passing. There was one pass there was two volley passes, but then there was one from way over on the left hand side over to the right hand side. Now Abada didn't totally control it properly, but it still found him, and that little lad is just a joy to watch. I absolutely enjoy watching him. But then David Turnbull comes on. David Turnbull looks like a superb player when he comes on. Goal aside, he just fit it straight in again. He's flicking the passes about. He's turning guys. There's just so many of these guys, and as you say, Hacksaw looks a player. Didn't come on. We've now got this new guy. Where's he going to fit in? Moy made his 20-minute appearance as he normally does. I think a point today just that I picked up on was the commentator was saying that Celtic were bringing on the three, and usually brings on three round about the hour mark. But he left at the 70-minute mark. But correct me if I'm wrong, I think although you're allowed 5 subs, you're only allowed to stop the game 3 times to make those 5 subs. That's correct. Because we lost Kyogo in 30 seconds due to the hammer thrower, and then we lost Starfish to another injury. We actually only had, although we could make 3 more changes, we could only stop the game 1 more time after he went off.
Terry. Very good.
So
that's why he's the face of P.M.P.
Had we made a change on 60, and somebody got injured,
yes,
we wouldn't have been able to replace them. So that's why those guys come on at a slightly later time than normal. But going back to your question, absolutely love watching all these players together. I'd love to know how he's able to keep. And I know he says it's not his job to keep people happy, but they all seem so happy. And yeah, I suppose if you're winning every week and you're upping the goals in, yeah. But if you're on that bench and you're not playing, if you're an Anthony Ralston, you sat through the first 5 games, you didn't get a game, then you come on and you played absolutely superb with 2 assists during the week, I believe. And then today you're back out again. You don't get a sniff, and in the big game, so to speak, unlikely to play on Tuesday night. How does Anthony Ralston remain happy he's at the club that he loves, but he wants to play, and he's a fantastic footballer. How do we,
Terry, this is what you're paid the money for, though. As far as I'm concerned, that's an Ange problem, not a Ralston problem, not a Juranovic. And if I'm honest, I think Ralston will get more game time than. I think Ralston, if anyone was, have I froze? I think if I was one person today, watching that Celtic team, not sure if I'd be able to fit into the team. I would pick being Tony Ralston. That's my takeaway of that. I don't want to be negative because today was an amazing day. But if there was someone in the shoes that I want to be in, and I'm on the bench, then I would pick being Tony Ralston. Because I think the guy that's in Ralston's shoes was targeted by Rangers today, effectively.
Mm-hmm.
I thought Barisic got more balls in the box, in the first half than we even managed to get in the box. And Barisic, combined, Barisic seemed to do on his own. I thought it was quite a deliberate move, which tells you, despite all the dewy eyes, Mark Kearney, we may see about Josip Juranovic, I think oppositions look at him as the weak link. Put it this way, Greg Taylor wasn't targeted the same. In fact, at no point today did Greg Taylor break a bead of sweat. Greg Taylor was excellent. Josip Juranovic then had opportunities going the other way. And when he gets time and space to put a ball in the box, he's found wanting. No one wants to hear it because we've just beat Rangers, and I get it. No one wants to hear it, though, if we're getting beat because it's an agenda. No one wants to hear it because he's a Croatian international. But I'm going to call it when we're on a high. Josip Juranovic, today, Celtic's weak link.
If you had to give a score in every single player, I think he'd be the lowest scored player in the park for Celtic.
By a mile.
It's not a negative, boys. It's
telling the truth.
I'm not going to sit here and lie because somebody sitting in my granny's basement wants me to lie. He was the worst player in the park for Celtic. Simple as that. I mean, there was a point in the first half he gave away the ball straight to the Rangers player, and then in the same attack, lost the same Rangers player who he gave the ball away to the time the guy made a man too. Listen, Ralston for me is Celtic's right back. He'll never get a game for Celtic as right back first pick because one, his name's no Juranovic and he's no Croatian, and you don't need guys wearing skydiving glasses greeting when he's fucking on the park because they're so excited to see him. They tell me who's a better player. I think Ralston going forward is better than Juranovic.
His final ball's far better, in my opinion.
Far better, boys.
It's undeniable, man.
Sorry?
It's undeniable, eh?
Boys, see if that's a question in your mind, I think you're being extremely biased. Of course he's a better crosser the ball. His defending is adequate. Was it better than Ralston's?
Definitely not.
Nah,
it's shite though. It's shite saying it because we're on the cusp of a win. But Mark, this is the key, right? I'm going to come back to you, by the way. Here's the key. You're pulled up by you're scattergunning it if it's in the back of a bad result, right? You're picking on folk. I think you're right when we're on the cusp of success to have the bollocks to say, okay, see today at any point where we're under the cosh, I'm sorry, it was 4 crosses that were very dangerous by Borna Barisic today for Rangers from one position of the park. Now, that's not to say Greg Taylor was tested the same. Greg Taylor wasn't tested the same, but I'll tell you why. That's because they picked on who Rangers have viewed, Rangers scouts, Rangers coaches team, whoever it may be behind Giovanni have went, we think that's your area you could target. Not Greg Taylor now. Greg Taylor's elevated himself beyond that. We think Ryan Kent could have a lot of joy there because Barisic will overlap him. Barisic putting balls that could have caused us trouble there. See if Juranovic is the target of Rangers today. He's got the questions to answer. No fucking us.
I think that's obvious, boys. I mean, you don't need to be a tactical genius to work out what their plan was today, boys. We've already mentioned it to get in our faces, but also the overlapping, the very obvious targeting, the weak link within that defensive element was quite obvious. If Janet,
Croatian international.
if he's looked at that board, his tactics board, and says, where can I get through? And this guy who's managed in Holland, managed Rangers to a UEFA Cup final, has picked this area, then I'm going to take his word for it. It's not because I want Ralston to play. I really don't. I'm not that biased. I think the best player for Celtic is the best performer for Celtic. It's as simple as that. Doesn't matter what names on the back of your tap. As long as Celtic win and Celtic have got the right players in each position, I don't care who they are.
What did you make of Ralston midweek?
I thought he was great, mate, and I think Terry pointed it there. Like, the reason why Celtic squad is so happy is because Ange has told them all, and he's showed them through evidence that every single one of them, if given opportunities, will get opportunities if they play at a certain level. Ralston's come in, Abada last year in the second half of the season came in, and they all showed up. So they all think, if I train Monday to Friday, okay, we all know that O'Reilly's got the right-hand side of the midfield, but Turnbull must know on a Monday morning he's got a chance of getting game time on a Saturday.
That's true.
And it's the same with the Park. I totally agree. I think you can. The days of the Celtic winning 4-0, right? But they only have intelligence. They only have their own intelligence to talk about the game as a whole. And we look at where Rangers had joy. I think the possession stats kind of lie a wee bit. I think Celtic kind of let them get the ball a wee bit. And it's quite comfortable at certain stages.
That, Mark. I 100% agree with that.
But also, boys, I think the fact that, and I noticed it as well, I'm glad you mentioned it, it was very much evident to anybody that watched that match that Rangers' game plan was to go down the left-hand side and target Juranovic. Of course it was. That's obvious. But I'm not wearing skydiving glasses, boys, so I don't know if everybody else seen this. So,
mate,
let everybody else make up their own mind.
It's not... I think right now it's very easy. Once you build up a relationship and you build up a Celtic song about an individual player, which unfortunately we seem to have done for the whole pool of Angie's squad, it makes it harder to critique them in a fair and balanced manner. Juranovic, for me, was the weak link at the back. But anyway, on the whole, and the face of it, you know, you could look at possession stats. You could look at Juranovic getting beaten in duels. You could look at Barisic getting 3 crosses the box. Let's look at how many goals Rangers scored. They scored 0 today, guys. How many did Celtic score? 4. I like to talk about the negatives because I think it's fair. I think it gives a balanced show. We've been on for an hour and 37 minutes. But what I will also say, the benefits outweigh them. I think in Leo Labada, we have right now the 20-year-old best young player at 20 years old. Definitely in Scotland. Why not in Britain? Why not? How old's Phil Foden? He must be 21 now, so fuck him. Who cares? Who cares? Leo Labada would walk in to the top teams. Leo Labada today caused nightmares to this European elite team that we're up against. What we've also learned is John Lundstrom is as shite as we all thought he was initially, which is fantastic. Rio Tati can play 30-yard balls on the volley, you know, as if he's going to soccer AM fucking shoot. You know, the shooting into the wee bin. That's the Tati, just halfway line, just a wee volley. Just get the leg above the shoulder, mate. Pings it over there. He strolled it. David Turnbull comes on. What we've learned is their 41-year-old goalkeeper. A 40-year-old goalkeeper is better than whoever it is they're investing in right now. And we're 5 points clear, as Odds and Edward would say, at the top of the table. So it's a good time to be a Celtic fan right now. I have been joined tonight by the legend, Mr. Statman, Phil McGinley. I've been joined by the face of P.M.P, Terry Robb, and I've been joined by a guy I just love more and more every time I chat Celtic with him, Mark Kearney, an absolute fucking diamond of a boy. And all you Twitter trolls can fucking kiss my ass because Mark Kearney's going absolutely fucking nowhere. See someone who's got a strong opinion, rather than crying at your mum about it or trying to get pylons, try a debate with him. I'll leave it to one of the best debaters in the business. It's Cassutton time. Good night.
Guys,
deliberately trying to cause controversy. Well, I work in the media now, and you've got someone sitting there next to you who's an embarrassment to the media profession. He's an apologist. He's a charlatan.